Welcome to BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show, the show where we feature technology companies operating globally, talking about their solutions and how they make a difference to their customers' businesses. Now, today our conversation is with Christopher Chelliah, Senior Vice President, Technology and Customer Strategy, Japan and Asia Pacific at Oracle Corporation Asia Pacific. Now, Oracle Corporation was founded in 1977 and is headquartered in San Francisco, and is a technology corporation that sells a wide range of enterprise IT solutions. Now, here to tell us more, welcome to the show, Christopher.
Hey, Brian, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, Chris, Oracle has been along for a long time, from its start in 1977 with relational databases, through its journey through ERP solutions, and then growing very rapidly in the last 3 decades through a mix of explosive growth and constant acquisitions. What does Oracle do and look like in 2022?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks. Great question, Brian. You know, most people don't really recognize or even realize it, but they rely on Oracle on a daily basis for what I call dial tone type services, services that must always be running. So whether, it's you going down to get a coffee at the cafe and you swipe at the Micros point of sale terminal, well, that's an Oracle system, or your banking transactions, or your health records in your hospital, your mobile phone billing systems, or if you're doing international money transfers, or even things like, our vaccine and drug discovery. A lot of those capabilities are critical systems that are exchanging data, solving very complex problems, and just cannot go down, hence my reference to dial tone type services, right? So we've got, as you said earlier, over 4 decades of experience in doing just that. In the last decade or so, or decade and a half, we've taken that IP, which we used to sell as products and hardware, and we've redeveloped it all as services on the cloud. So we're really making mission critical, hyperscale dial tone services accessible to the masses in the market today. So we're the only cloud provider that gives customers infrastructure as a service, as well as a broad suite, as you said, of SaaS applications. So whether that's financials or supply chain or talent management or customer experience, and we plug that in with a rich set of industry vertical applications for fintech, pharma, healthcare, utilities, retail, you name it. So the intersection of all three, with a common data fabric, infrastructure, SaaS, and industry applications, makes a huge difference for our customers. And when we deliver this as a service, our interests are even more aligned with our customers, because we only succeed when they succeed, because it's a day-to-day relationship with our customers. They're engaging as a service, right? One example of that is how we're the only cloud provider today to offer financially backed end-to-end SLAs, aligning our incentives to our customers' success. So, we're doing things very, very differently out there.
Okay, I want to ask you about that, because that is something unique. Tell us a little bit more about that.
About the end-to-end
about
SLA.
The financial alignment with your services.
Yeah, absolutely. So, cloud is not something you sell. Cloud is about an engagement and an experience that the customers have with us. So as they take our services, be they infrastructure, so you might take compute, network, and storage, or you might take a customer experience application from us, or you might take a retail point of sale application from us. All of those are consumed as a service, and when we deliver it to you as a service, there's an SLA behind those, and those SLAs are aligned to us delivering that capability to you, and we financially back them. So firstly, most of our competitors in the cloud space can only offer you just infrastructure, not the applications, not the industry applications, and they certainly don't align that with SLAs underpinning.
And so obviously, as a CIO, if I'm a CIO and I'm looking at solutions, one of the advantages, if I prefer to have less vendors to deal with, is obviously deal with a company like Oracle. And that's, would you say that that's one of your secret sauces in terms of differentiating yourself from your competitor?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the idea is, customers have a broad problem to solve. They can take, a one-stop shop with Oracle. However, I just want to be clear that we also make it very easy for customers to consume cloud services independently. right? I said earlier that we're the only, provider with infrastructure, enterprise apps, and industry applications. But we see more and more customers are relying on a multi-cloud strategy where they want to strategically select different cloud providers for what they're best at. They could certainly come to Oracle for the whole suite, but we do see customers, going for a multi-cloud approach. And we're absolutely committed to making multi-cloud a reality for our customers as well. Where they pick the unique, they'll pick a cloud service for its unique strength, and they'll choose the right cloud for the right job.
Okay, Chris, now what does your footprint and business mix look like in the Asia Pacific region?
So we have customers across all three of those, verticals, if you like, that I just mentioned, right? And so we have customers that are using the infrastructure cloud and growing, extremely strongly with that. We have customers that are using our SaaS offerings, and we've got customers that are using us for utilities and retail and a whole bunch of other capabilities in the region as well. So, all three of these are brought together, and customers are using them across all these markets here in ASEAN, Korea, India, Japan, and Australia, New Zealand as well.
Now, obviously, in order to showcase your capabilities and also for marketing purposes, you have a partnership with Red Bull Racing in Formula One. Tell us about that and how that has impacted not only your use cases, but also how you market your services to your customers.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think you use a really key word there. You use the word partnership with Oracle Red Bull Racing versus a sponsorship, because we really believe it is a partnership. And a really good example of the implications of cloud can be seen in what's happening in the sporting arena today, right? So I had the privilege of being in Melbourne just this last weekend, and I got to see the first-hand impact of our partnership with Red Bull Racing. And you can, you're wondering, why is Oracle involved in, the English Premier League and SailGP and basketball and Formula One racing? It's because in sport, every millisecond counts. And, it's not surprising then to see that in sports, they're leading the way in how they use data, they use the cloud, they use AI and ML, machine learning, to drive continuous improvement and to continuously measure risk in everything that they do. One aspect of the partnership that we do, with the Oracle Red Bull Racing is in every race, the team runs billions of simulations trackside in real time. And those simulations in real time directly impact race strategy. And so, that's increasingly, as businesses become more global, more 24/7, more online, they're operating, in a similar theater as the sports teams are as well. Right. So, I'll give you one example of a real life situation is in Maxim's Group. It's a retailer that runs many franchises in Southeast Asia, be they Starbucks and mooncakes and things like that across the region. The pandemic pushed them away moved them away from, face-to-face selling. And they had to pivot really quickly to go into an online business model, how they optimize their stock across the store, how they personalize their offers to customers. And it was a very, very similar pivot where they rely on data to do that very, very quickly. And we see that, a very different industry. But if I bring the analogy back to, Red Bull Racing, the two things that we've been working with them in the last 12 months or so has been around race simulations. I already mentioned that, but also around fan engagement and how they use our customer experience platform to get a closer and tighter engagement and alignment with their fans. So using data, using cloud, using a combination of infrastructure for simulations and SaaS applications for customer experience, driving this great partnership with Oracle Red Bull Racing. So.
Now, Chris, the migration to the cloud has really accelerated because of the pandemic. Now, Oracle's cloud revenue is now more than 11 billion annually. Tell us about the migration to the cloud and how it impacted your business in APAC. You just mentioned an examples of Maxim Group, but maybe could you give us a broader perspective of how businesses were then forced to pivot and how you helped them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said earlier, we think that we got to make it easier for customers to consume the cloud. So, and we also see a big trend with customers looking for multi-cloud environments where they pick the best cloud, right cloud for the right job. So, first thing that we do and have been helping our customers with is being able to pick up these mission critical systems that I talked about that over the last 4 decades, and being able to pick them up and move them to the cloud without an extensive rewrite, without the risk and the cost and the time of doing that. So that's been a fundamental, easy shift for customers to pick it up from on-premises, move it to cloud, and then extend and build on top of that. But we also have extended on top of that strategic partnerships for multi-cloud with the likes of Microsoft Azure. So let's say you are an Azure shop today, you can consume Oracle Cloud services seamlessly, or vice versa. If you're an Oracle shop today, you can consume Azure cloud services seamlessly. So making it easy for customers to cross those platforms has been a big initiator or accelerator for customers to the cloud. So we don't force a rewrite. We let you work across multiple clouds. We let you then extend or surround your applications with SaaS and our industry applications. Last but not least, we also let you build and extend on top of that using any of the many open cloud native frameworks out there to extend. So really it helps customers accelerate that time to benefit. And when you then couple that with some of our innovative services like the autonomous database and the Exadata cloud services, it just gives them a very, very compelling event to move quickly. I'll give you a couple of examples. Thomson Reuters, a leading provider of business information services, they took their application for indirect tax software and rolled that out across Oracle, because we've got 38 cloud regions globally, growing to 44, more than any of the other cloud providers out there. So they distributed that across the Oracle Cloud regions. Or Experian, that started with AWS and has now moved services across to Oracle and the other cloud providers as part of their multi-cloud strategy. Or University of Melbourne, we were talking earlier about Melbourne, their research labs bringing in IoT, sensor-based IoT data, and they're using the Oracle Cloud as the hub of a multi-cloud environment to process that IoT information against machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we're just making it easier for customers to embark on the cloud and to make multi-cloud real for our customers.
And what do you see, Chris, this is 2022, in terms of key trends within the cloud network and security space? What do you see that? What are some key trends that are happening right now?
So, key trends, I think, if I look at cloud network and security space, so a couple of things, the cloud is a means to an end, right? So really, if I take a step back, firstly, data will become, I think, a balance sheet item for businesses. So, an organization is going to be measured, the health of the organization, on how they acquire, how they store, how they innovate, and how that they can become front and center, in their industry. That's going to be part of a balance sheet item. So, and the network and security around cloud will be underpinning that, but that's a key thing. I think, boards will be expecting true transformation from cloud investments. There's a staggering, $1.8 trillion that's going to be spent on digital transformation and cloud. But we think that, it's not just going to be about picking up on premise and moving it to the cloud. That's digital sameness, I think Forrester calls it, or digital lipstick, right? It's not about that. Boards are going to be asking about how, what are the evidence that you've truly pivoted and truly gained long-term, competitive advantage on the cloud. We're going to see machine learning and AI converge in the cloud. So, organizations are going to drown with the amount of data that they have. Back to my first point, if they don't use machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we're going to make artificial intelligence pervasive through everything that you do, because that's the only way you're going to process all of that data. And last but not least, I think, as a trend, I think we're going to see some unconventional digital partnerships across the sectors, whether that's healthcare, consumer, electronics, or transportation. Take Singtel, one of Asia's leading communication groups, and their partnership recently with a unicorn Grab to then offer banking services to both retail and corporate services. I think you're going to see more and more of that in the market as well, all of which is underpinned by the networking, the cloud networking and cloud security, because all of that relies on a data mesh. And that data mesh is not possible without high-speed networks that are secure, and the security has to be beyond doubt, irrefutable. And I think that's an area that Oracle absolutely excels in as well as part of our DNA.
So I need to ask you about that because cybersecurity is now top of mind, especially since the pandemic and everyone moving off premise to work with remote working. Cybersecurity is top of mind for CIOs globally. And the conversations obviously are growing around security. And why, with all the ransomware attacks and the increasing attacks by bad actors, what are you doing in this space to make sure that the data is protected? You just said something about it, it's part of your DNA, but what are you really doing?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And thank you for challenging us on that. I think it's important for every customer to challenge their vendors on what they're doing about data and data security. And like I will say it again, it is in our DNA. I'll make a pretty bold statement here, Brian, right? And it's something that's not present, I think, with our competitors. And so again, I'd ask customers, urge customers to challenge the vendors. That is, we believe that security should be foundational and built in, and customers should not be forced to make a trade-off between security and cost, especially in the cloud environment. Right. So that's an important thing because security in the cloud is always a joint responsibility between the provider and the customer. What we do at Oracle is we take on more of that responsibility. Okay. This is a major shift in the public cloud industry because far too often, if you hear of breaches in the public cloud and you can do searches on them, you'll find them. The burden is often placed on the customer. Well, that customer didn't configure that configuration or setting properly. We believe that the cloud provider needs to take on much, much more of that responsibility, and we do in our offering. Let me give you a couple of examples. First, we have built a ground-up zero trust model. And in the Oracle Cloud model, we isolate customer tenancies from each other. So you're in a, like you are in your own data center where you've got your own computers and somebody else has got their own computers. We do the same in the cloud. So we have a ground-up zero trust policy. Second, everything in the Oracle Cloud is encrypted. Nothing is unencrypted. You can't give us unencrypted data because we will encrypt it as soon as it comes into our firewall, and we will keep it encrypted throughout its life cycle, at rest, at backup, etc. Third, we have the notion of a maximum security zone. So when you put an application into a maximum security zone, think of it as a secure house. We don't let you unlock the doors or windows. We don't let any future updates let you unlock a door or window because we take responsibility to say that's in a maximum security zone. All of these things are locked down and they'll always be locked down even as the software evolves. A Cloud Guard is another example where you talked about bots. We're pitting machine learning. We're looking at your usage patterns, and we've got machine learning and AI looking at all the intrusion bots trying to penetrate the cloud and putting a shield out there against that. Plain boring old patching. Most of the vulnerabilities that are out there have fixes. Customers just haven't had the time to have the skills or maintenance windows to apply those patches. Well, we do all of that on the fly. We do that as they emerge without downtime. We take that responsibility away from our customers to shut the system down and do a backup. We do that on the fly. And last but not least, there'll always be use cases where data residency and sovereign requirements will still exist, no matter how secure the cloud is. So we give customers the opportunity to take that entire public cloud and run it as a dedicated region. We will build the same cloud inside their firewall with same full service parity. So same services, same SLAs, same rate cards, same performance, but you are the sole tenant and it's inside your firewall. Nomura Research is a great example. In Japan, they're using a dedicated region. And they run a significant portion of Japan's capital and equity market trading on a dedicated region because that data has to stay inside their firewall, but they're running it on Oracle Cloud.
Chris, it's been a fascinating conversation and I've really enjoyed and learned a lot. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, look, I think cloud is about dipping your toe in very, very quickly. And we are committed, Oracle as a cloud company are committed to help customers get that first taste, that first experience of cloud. And if, the urge and challenge I'd give our customers out there, if there is a complex application, a complex service that you think is just not ready to go to the cloud, but you'd like to get to the cloud, consider us, have a chat with us, because we are designed in our DNA to solve these problems, complex problems. We've been doing it for decades, in being able to take those environments and move them to the cloud. And we believe that once customers get a taste in the experience of the cloud and the reliability and the security of the cloud, it starts a massive waterfall shift as they take and pivot their organization to the next level of the digital economy.
Chris, thank you for taking your time to be on the show.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Christopher Chelliah, Senior Vice President, Technology and Customer Strategy, Japan and Asia Pacific at Oracle Corporation Asia Pacific on BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show. This video will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.